Tonight, a man is stabbed to death and police need your help in solving the case. This as another student of a local high school is stabbed. And later, reaction tonight on the removal of the mask mandate. Eyewitness News starts now.
Eyewitness News is brought to you by BTC. Get all the internet you need for half the price when you bundle your internet and mobile. Conditions apply.
Another murder recorded on the streets of the capital. Good evening, everyone. I'm Janae Noel. Thanks so much for joining us. Topping news tonight, a gruesome discovery being made earlier today as the body of a man believed to be in his 50s found hanging over a stairwell with stab wounds. This latest murder pushing the country's murder count closer to 100. Tyler Simonet was on the scene shortly after that discovery and filed this report.
The country's latest homicide seen a distressing sight to residents of the Boyd Road area as the body of a male believed to be in his mid-50s was found slumped over the railing of a building with multiple stab wounds about his body. According to Chief Superintendent of Police Chrislyn Skippings, police were notified around 10 this morning and directed to a building situated on Pilgrim Avenue off of Boyd Road.
At present, we do not know the circumstances surrounding this particular incident, but from what the injuries that we observe, we can say that there was a struggle. At this time, I am unable to say who the struggle with, if it was one individual or two people. But as mentioned, from what is observed, there appears to have been a struggle.
The male, according to police, did not live in the building where his body was found and is not known to police. His body was hanging over the stairwell for some 4 hours before police arrived. At this time, police say they have no leads.
Still preliminary, we don't know what happened, and so I take this opportunity to make an appeal to the residents who live in this wonderful community that is always quiet. If you have seen or if you have heard anything earlier today, earlier in the morning, I want to ask you to reach out to your Royal Bahamas Police Force. Contact the Criminal Investigation Department at 502-999-102, or you can remain anonymous and contact Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. Any bit of information that you can give us, we will definitely follow those lines of inquiries to see if we're able to bring resolution to this matter.
Lead pastor of Johnson Park Seventh-day Adventist Church, Jamal Franklin, expresses that the whole community is in shock as he describes it as a quiet neighborhood. He makes this impassioned call to any struggling youth in the area.
There's counseling provided for you in our churches to help you to be able to deal with parental therapy, trauma therapy, job therapy, abuse therapy. We have counselors in our churches who are available to help you navigate the challenges that you may face. And the Pathfinder Band is one of those ways of music therapy for you to have a way to express your anger, your frustration, even through holistic events like music or art therapy. And so reach out to us at the Johnson Park Seventh-day Adventist Church, 341-4021. Come for counseling. Don't try to resolve an issue with your own strength, with your own power. And we're here for you. We love you. And we want to see the men of our community have outlets.
Tyler Simonet, Eyewitness News.
Well, still talking crime news tonight, another student has been stabbed at the hands of a fellow student just 1 day after a teen boy was charged in the magistrate's court for attempted murder. This latest incident taking place yesterday as the victim was reportedly walking home from school. Laurencia Smith has more on this.
According to police, a 14-year-old male student of Doris Johnson Senior High School was allegedly stabbed in the upper body while walking by an unknown assailant who was riding on a jitney yesterday afternoon. Since then, police have confirmed that the alleged suspect is now in custody. Eyewitness News visited Foxhill Road South where Gabriel Mem, the owner of Mem Family Water Depot, telling us that if it was not for the assistance from his employees, the minor involved might have lost his life. While walking us through what he witnessed, he claims that the medical services took a long time to arrive to render assistance.
The incident happened by the forest sign. He realized he got stabbed, let's say, about 50 feet, and then he ran across the street where he collapsed right there under the little way off from the tamarind tree.
This is the second reported school stabbing in recent weeks. Chief Superintendent of Police Mark Barrett, who is the commander of the Fox Hill Division, says necessary steps are already in place to safeguard students.
We do have patrols, particularly before and after school, within our school jurisdiction. As you can see, and if you go this afternoon, you would see the patrol cars out. You will see officers on foot patrol, walking about within the school vicinities.
Sandilands Primary School, Kingsway Academy, St. Anne's School, St. Augustine's College, L.W. Young Junior High School, and Doris Johnson Senior High School all fall under the Fox Hill Division. Barrett says with this vast number of schools, his team stressed the importance of conflict resolution. He's of the view that many of these incidents are preventable.
A lot of programs, robust programs for students within the Fox Hill jurisdiction. And we want these students to take part of these various structured programs that we are offering them. That said, we have what we call the Fox Hill Community Band. It's something relatively new to the area, where we meet the young people where they are and we address certain needs as relate to them.
Meantime, the vice principal of Doris Johnson Senior High School, Mr. Donald Allen, who wished not to be on camera, telling Eyewitness News that he agrees that students should be exposed to some level of conflict resolution. Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Well, that 14-year-old charged yesterday with attempted murder for allegedly stabbing another male student at the Anatole Rogers High School last week has been remanded to the Simpson Penn Center for Boys. A fight between the two students reportedly broke out around lunchtime, and following the incident, the accused reportedly jumped the school's fence to escape. Now he's scheduled to return to court on December 13th for a voluntary bill of indictment that is expected to fast-track his case to the Supreme Court. Well, still talking news from the courts, a Jamaican man was charged with the robbery of two businesses last week. CCTV footage of one of those incidents going viral on social media, even internationally. It's alleged that 24-year-old Wayne Smith robbed 700 Wines and Spirits on Burnett Road of nearly $10,000. Back on September 10th, he could be seen entering that establishment armed, forcing customers and staff on the ground. He also robbed an employee of $20 and an iPhone valued at $800. Now, the following day on September 10th, police alleged that Smith also robbed a supply store on Mackey Street of nearly $20,000. He was not required to enter a plea to those charges, and bail has been denied. A Grand Bahama woman also charged in the magistrate's court today for the sale of boat tickets for the Balearia Fast Ferry service that sails from Grand Bahama to Miami, Florida. 45-year-old Kate Lockhart pleaded not guilty to 6 counts of credit by false pretenses between Saturday, the 19th of March of this year, and Wednesday, the 10th of August of 2022, in the amount of $42,000. She was not an employee with the company. Lockhart was also granted bail in the amount of $7,000 with 3 sureties. She's to report to the Northeastern Station every Monday and Friday before 6 p.m. This matter was adjourned until Wednesday, the 8th of February. Well, as murders and armed robberies continue to trend upward, prison officials are facing some issues of their own with criminals that land at their doorstep. The acting commissioner of corrections revealing some startling statistics on the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services, including the ever-growing issue of contraband. Tyler Simonet has more on that.
Cell phones, chargers, illegally produced alcohol, and even drugs are just some of the things confiscated from inmates on a regular basis in the Bahamas Department of Correctional Services. Acting Commissioner of Corrections Don Clare expresses that the prison is facing an issue with illegal contraband slipping through the cracks and landing in the hands of prisoners. In light of this, they have relaunched the Search and Contraband Unit with much success.
September of 28 to December 31st of 2021, we have found 529 packages of marijuana. From January 1st to yesterday, we have found 404 packages of marijuana. From September 28 last year to December 31st, we found 142 cell phones. In 2022, from January to yesterday, we found 198 cell phones.
Claire also reveals how many sentenced individuals are in BDOCs for various crimes.
Sentenced inmates. You know, it's amazing. We have 133 persons sentenced for murder in the Bahamas Department of Corrections. Attempted murder, 46. Manslaughter, 65. Rape, 25. And our largest category is firearms, which is 163. And then you have armed robbery, which is 136.
Prison officials also continue to be concerned about the rehabilitation of offenders to prevent them from coming back after being released.
For the first time in history, the government of the Bahamas is about to allow us to hire 2 full-time psychiatrists, 2 full-time psychologists, 2 full-time occupational therapists, 1 inmate industry specialist, 25 more rehabilitative lecturers, and drug treatment specialists. Now, why do I mention this? Because this is now the trust to now implement the new correctional model that we are trying to implement. We are now going into corrections for the first time.
Additionally, next week, Monday, officials from the American Correctional Association will be visiting the Bahamas to guide BDOC's officials on the path to a proper rehabilitative experience for those incarcerated.
And this assessment will go along the lines of them trying to make us accredited. Now, bear in mind now, we had the name from 2014, the Bahamas Department of Corrections. But we never had the resources to implement corrections. So as of yesterday, we were still operating in a punitive type mode. So I'm excited to see now for the first time in history, we are now having professionals from the United States and professionals out of Canada who is now coming to spend time with us to actually change our model into corrections.
Tyler Simonet, Eyewitness News.
Well, government announcing today the removal of the mask mandate as of October 1st. At least for most of the population, the move comes as U.S. President Joe Biden declared over the weekend that the COVID-19 pandemic is over. In a statement released from the Office of the Prime Minister, officials did advise that masks are still required in schools, healthcare facilities, and senior care homes for the time being. Prime Minister Davis also noted that some will choose to continue to wear their mask in crowded settings and that it is everyone's choice and that deserves respect. Now, some residents and stakeholders from various sectors have been agitating for the change for some time, especially those in the hotel industry, which saw the removal of mask requirements on hotel properties this summer. Bahamas Hotel and Tourism Association President Robert Sands expressing his agreement with the government's stance on the mask mandate and the removal of testing for unvaccinated individuals to enter the country. Now, he says he believes it's a step in the right direction, not only for tourism, but for the country at large.
So hopefully the removal of both of those items or the easing of the last of the COVID protocols would be critical to placing the Bahamas on a level playing field with our competitors. And I think it brings us in line with the rest of the world, and in particular our source markets. Notwithstanding these removals, we believe that the general population and our visitors will take personal responsibility for their own health and safety. And in the main, this is a very good thing for the country.
Meantime, opposition leader Michael Pintard says the opposition sees no issue with government lifting the mask mandate. However, he's asking government to explain the rationale to the public. He adds that the government should also consider permitting businesses to maintain a mask mandate if they deem it necessary.
For example, you have nursing homes where you have elderly residents who are potentially quite vulnerable even now And while we are seeking to improve our facilities at whether it's at the RAN or whether it's at PMH, we do have a capacity issue, and therefore, if persons get ill, I guarantee you there will be a heightened concern around whether or not we have the ability to not only house those persons who could be affected by COVID, but there will also be concerns for other patients who have other illnesses. And so some businesses ought to be given an opportunity to maintain that restriction.
Well, if you've got a news tip or if you've seen news in the making, call the Ion News hotline at 397-6397. We also invite you to send your letters to the editor for publication on all of our social media platforms at Eyewitness News Bahamas at gmail.com. And if you're watching on our Facebook or YouTube page, share your thoughts about today's stories in the comments section. We want to hear from you. Well, we're just getting started in Eyewitness News tonight, but when we come back, evacuated residents return home to Maguana. We've got that story coming up. And later, Belinda Wilson looking for a fourth straight in the Teachers Union presidential elections tomorrow. We've got more on that right after this break.
Distributed in the Bahamas by Jimmy's Wines and Spirits.
Welcome back. Here's a look at your Eyewitness News gas tracker, $6.30. Your national average for a gallon of gas. You get the cheapest today at Shell, $6.29. Rubis, $6.30. And Esso, $6.31. Well, with the Bahamas Union of Teachers elections just hours away, current President Belinda Wilson telling Eyewitness News today that this will be her last time running for president after serving in this role since 2008. Wilson is the union's longest-serving president. She says the journey continues to improve the well-being of teachers around the country.
Used to be, and I've given a lot of my youth and my family time to the Bahamas Union of Teachers. Than me for this position because I never aspired to be the president of the Bahamas Union of Teachers. So I know that God has ordered my steps, and we've had so many successes.
Two other candidates are on the ballots for president: Jacqueline McKenzie, who ran against Wilson 3 times, and Dion Johnson. Johnson telling Eyewitness News that now is the time for new leadership for the membership of some 3,000 teachers.
Really is because of my experience with dealing with human resource issues and my ability to communicate effectively and professionally. You know, I will fight for the teachers, but my fight will be different. You know, there's no more time for swords and horses. Right now, it is time for diplomatic communication where we sit across the table and we debate respectfully and productively. Because, you know, no one wants someone who will fight constantly and have nothing to show in return.
Well, tropical storm conditions subsiding in Maguana late last night as Category 3 Hurricane Fiona moved westward, leaving a trail of devastation in Puerto Rico and battering the Turks and Caicos Islands with heavy rains. Acting Prime Minister Chester Cooper traveling to Exuma today to return Maguana residents who were evacuated there back home. He, along with the minister responsible for the Disaster Reconstruction Authority, along with NEMA executives, gave their initial assessment of the islands following the passage of the storm. Our Devontae Hanna returning with that team at this hour. He'll have more on this in a later report. Good to have them back home. Well, from massive spring tides to devastating hurricanes, the effects of climate change can be witnessed in almost every corner of our archipelago, impacting families and livelihoods. The timely issue was addressed this morning at a climate resilience, coastal management, and infrastructure program. British consultancy group McDonald presented findings of a study conducted on the Long Wharf Junkanoo Beach area, highlighting a few key issues that include damage to breakwater. Now, that's the structures you see on various beaches, which protects against tides, currents, waves, and also storm surges.
So these provide the sort of the outer limits of the study area that we actually are talking about when we refer back to the Junkanoo frontage. So even though they're not on the frontage, they have a significant impact on what's going on behind them.
The company also noted that there is some beach erosion that has taken place over the last 20 years. According to company officials, there is increased potential for flooding in these areas. The Public Works Minister, Alfred Sayers, explaining what measures can be considered to avoid further damage following this study.
The whole point of doing the base study is, at the end of that, is to come up with concrete measures to improve, to strengthen, such as a boardwalk, such as more effective seawalls, such as more breakwater infrastructure to keep the high tides away, and also measures that will minimize and hopefully eliminate the sediment movement, because we are losing a lot of the beach.
Well, if you're looking for capital to get into the agriculture business or to expand, a new grant has just been launched to assist. Our Tyler Simonet has more on this collaboration between Access Accelerator and the Ministry of Agriculture in this report.
With more focus being placed on sustainable development, the Small Business Development Centre and the Ministry of Agriculture, Marine Resources and Family Island Affairs have teamed up to launch the Sustainable Food Growth Grant to help develop production systems to bolster national food security. Minister responsible Clay Sweeting believes this grant will be a game changer for food production in the Bahamas.
Announced that over $1 million would be allocated for grants for fishermen and farmers to advance food production in the country. And we hope to advance this with not just in food production and fishing, but to allocate 30% of those funds for poultry farming exclusively. We know that we face the threats of external forces such as shipping challenges, the ongoing conflict between Russia and the Ukraine, ballooning inflation, and not to mention that we remain in a global pandemic. But all is not lost. This Davis administration recognizes the need to incentivize food production in our country.
Under this grant, businesses in the farming and fishing industry, whether just starting up or already existing, can access up to $50,000.
Funds can be used to make purchases such as construction services, equipment, insurance, furniture, heavy-duty vehicles, supplies, and much more. Through this grant, successful applicants will also have access to virtual training that will help their businesses thrive. They will get the necessary training on food security, emerging trends, post-harvest management, financial reporting, and export potential. We speak a lot about fishing and we speak a lot about farming, but we speak little about how to integrate business into these type of structures.
Access Accelerator is now celebrating its 4th anniversary with this launch and plan to continue initiatives like this to ensure the protection of the health and well-being of Bahamian people.
The mission and mandate of Access Accelerator, the Small Business Development Center, focuses on the support and evolution of MSMEs, micro, small, and medium-sized enterprises. How do we then link that to a robust economy? We want to be able to focus on the sustainable development of our economy. And one of our primary SDGs, Sustainable Development Goals, is zero hunger. Advance our mission much smoother once we understand the importance of partnerships.
Tyler Simonet, Eyewitness News.
Well, still to come in Eyewitness News tonight, we take you on another adventure that taps into the history of the Bahamas. We've got that story coming up, but first, here's a check on tonight's weather forecast.
edition of the news is brought to you by J.S. Johnson, Insurance Agents and Brokers, giving you peace of mind.
Your live aerials tonight coming from downtown Nassau and the Nassau Harbor, where the temperature is right around 90 degrees with a lower reading tonight of 81. This is Eyewitness News. Welcome back. Well, a local tour company celebrating 3 years in business, this amid the COVID-19 pandemic. They took our Laurencia Smith on a journey that she says is one for the history books. Here's that report.
This week's adventure took me to the famous 66 Steps and the surrounding historical sites with Dilly Dally Bike and Walkabout Tour. The company offers tours of downtown Nassau and recently celebrated its 3rd anniversary, having to overcome a number of challenges, including the COVID-19 pandemic.
Well, we started in the summer of 2019, and March of 2020, the pandemic came, so a year and a half just went out the window. The only thing we could have done was hope and pray that it comes back. It's now gradually coming back, but of course it was a struggle.
Depending on how many ships are in harbor and the season, a tour can range from 2 to as many as 15 guests.
They love the Queen Staircase, the history of it, the slavery part of it. They like that experience, then going up around the Water Tower and Fort Finn Castle. They all seem to like that.
Now, I had a choice of either riding or walking. I opted for the walkabout. Mr. Charles and I started our adventure at Elizabeth Avenue. Even though I shared with him that I was a history buff, that did not stop Mr. Charles from giving me the full experience, including a history lesson on one of the 4 forts here in the capital.
The forts were built to protect the harbor from the pirates. Never really saw much action, because by the time they finished building it, the pirates got smart real quick and started going in other directions. It was used as a lighthouse for a while.
We then moved on to the Queen's Staircase, commonly known as the 66 Steps.
It was cut out of solid rock by slaves. There were no fancy tools used. They used chisels and mauls.
The steps were named in honor of the late Queen Victoria, the great-grandmother of the late Queen Elizabeth.
But it was named after the Queen's great-grandmother. 1 step for each year that she ruled on the throne of England. The bricks, I told you about that already. They were there for tourist comfort. And the purpose of the steps was so the soldiers can get from that fort down to the city in case we were attacked by pirates without being seen.
I trekked up the staircase and posed for a quick snapshot with the best tour guide ever before making our way back to Bay Street. Now, before that, Mr. Charles gave me another sightseeing tour as we headed onto East Street, pointing out the police headquarters, the new building of the American Embassy, and the famous Zion Baptist Church. Until next time, Laurencia Smith, Eyewitness News.
Thanks, Laurencia. Well, a new CEO has been appointed to BTC. Shamir Batu now holds the top position. The Bahamian national, according to a statement released, joins the company from Comcast, where he spent the past 10 years as an executive in commercial and channel development roles. Prior to that, he held senior positions at Verizon in the United States, and in his new role at BTC, he will have the overall responsibility for the company's commercial operations across the Bahamas. He succeeds the former CEO, Andre Foster. Still to come tonight, our Randy Smith has the latest from the Sportsplex. Good evening, Randy.
Janae, several Bahamian players performed well for Great Britain as they head to the World Baseball Classic next year. Hear more about it coming up in Eyewitness Sports.
We have safely
This segment of the news is brought to you by Hennessy, the spirit of sports in the Bahamas. Good evening, everyone. I'm Randy Smith, and welcome to Eyewitness Sports. Sitting up tonight, Tanaj Thomas got the win in relief on the mound, and Deshaun Knowles and Anthony Seymour provided great offense for Great Britain as they sealed a comeback 10-9 win over Spain yesterday to book their ticket to the 2023 World Baseball Classic. Chavez Fernandez and Uriel Forbes were the other two Bahamians on Team Great Britain, while Albert Cartwright served as the first base coach. The qualifiers for the World Classic begin this fall. Also in baseball, BJ Murray got a call to play in the Arizona Fall League in just his second professional season. The Arizona Fall League features top talent in the farm system. He'll be playing for the Massasola Sox, which is made up by players from the Marlins, Rays, and Yankees. And some good news on the sports tourism front. The Miami Heat announced that it will make the Bahamas part of its training camp once again. The Heat begin their two-day practice sessions from Tuesday to Thursday at Bahama. Following the sessions, the Heat will host a practice open to invited guests and kids from the Bahamas Basketball Federation. In a recent interview, Deputy Prime Minister and Minister of Tourism and Aviation Chester Cooper talked about the importance of sports tourism partnerships in the Florida area.
The Land of Magic, the Miami Dolphins, and we expect that we will continue these types of partnerships. They have a very large reach, and as you know, these are beloved teams in the Bahamas, especially the Dolphins, and I expect that through the course of this ongoing partnership we'll be able to find synergies. We will do joint promotions. We'll be able to access their databases, and certainly we will be able to promote the islands of the Bahamas and Florida. This is a great opportunity for us. We are going to use every avenue available, but all of our partners, to ensure that we deepen our reach, we strengthen our position in the market, and this is why we are creating new partners as we move along. We've had relationships with these teams in the past. We're going to renew those opportunities.
Well, that does it for us in sports, but stay tuned. Eyewitness News continues in a moment. I'm Randy Smith. Have a great evening.
You're watching Eyewitness News.
Welcome back. Well, another company has registered with Eyewitness, and they're offering you a chance to get a piece of the economic pie. Nassau Gas and Tanks is the latest company seeking your investment so they can expand. The CEO, Mark Newell, says the oil and gas company is looking to raise around $3 million. In his view, the time is now to allow individuals to invest in their company that he says has survived almost 2 decades in business.
It's a very capital-intensive business. We want to upgrade the whole fleet of trucks. We want to get lots of inventory. I don't want to divulge my whole playbook because I've got competitors watching, but we want to venture out to the Family Islands because it's tough. You know, the other islands, they've got to send tanks on a mailboat, you know, so that sometimes they're out of gas for a couple of weeks. So we want to do little mini depots all around the Bahamas, and it's not cheap. I'm going to level with you. It's, you know, the gas business is very capital intensive, but fortunately it's a product that everyone needs and uses, so, you know, we have to do it.
Now, Winston Roll, he's the chief of equities at Eyewitness, says investment starts at around $90, and if you want to invest in the company, you will receive your return on that investment on a yearly basis. And if you're still hesitant about investing, he's sharing this tip.
I mean, what you've seen in recent times with the success of Red Lobster, Tropical Gyro, Foot Care, pretty soon persons are going to start to see a return on those investments. So this is the time to get in now. I mean, as for example, once Nassau Gas raises their monies, and let's say they do have some success in expanding into the Family Islands and may need to build another plant in one of the Family Islands, say Abaco. That's going to require more money. And if he has to come back to the market for money again, it's not going to be at $11 a share. It's going to be at a completely different price point. So it's all about getting in early and being able to take advantage of the benefit while it's still low.
Well, coming up and beyond the headlines with Shanique Miller, she has some hot topics with her contributors. She's also talking to Belinda Wilson, who's going at it again for presidency of the Bahamas Union of Teachers. That's coming up and beyond the headlines. It starts right after this. That does it for us here at Eyewitness News. It's certainly been a pleasure having you in our company tonight. On behalf of the entire news team, I'm Janae Noel saying good night and be safe, everyone.
Because we wanted you to understand and know that what you do and who you are is important to us, to Andros, to the Bahamas, and to the world.
That was the resounding message to students from Education Minister Glenys Hannah-Martin and her team as they visited schools in North and Central Andros about 2 weeks into the new school year. The minister was quite pleased with what she observed.
It's clear that everybody was waiting for this interaction to commence. The children are excited, they are activated, the teachers are ready, the principals are in place and taking leadership. And it's just, this has been quite a wonderful experience because the children are, you know, the only word I can think of, they're delightful. They're optimistic, they are bubbly, they're hugely intelligent and articulate, and just wonderful. And so this has been a really good reminder of you know, what makes this nation such a wonderful place. And we saw the whole spectrum from the primary to the high school, and in each instance it's just been a just incredibly rewarding experience.
And thankful that there were not many concerns, Minister Hannah-Martin, however, noted one area to be addressed.
There is an issue of some specialized teachers in some of the very small schools that we're going to have to go back and see how we can supply them with those teachers. The infrastructural works were done beautifully during the summer. The grounds are all manicured and beautifully kept.
From the Big Yard, I'm Adama Williams for Ed Talk.
Views and comments expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on Beyond the Headlines are not necessarily those of management, ownership, or production unit of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is a production of ILTV Studios and cannot be reproduced or represented in part or entirety without express written permission of the Verizon Media Group. Beyond the Headlines is the intellectual property of the Verizon Media Group. Copyright 2021.
Teachers across the country go to the polls to elect a new president tomorrow tonight. We talked to the woman who has led the BUT and fought doggedly for her members, Belinda Wilson. She is live tonight. Also, the Hot Topics panel weighs in on the news stories and issues that you are talking about. For example, inflation causing prison meals to increase. Yep, absolutely. We're going to talk about that tonight. And Tropical Gyros is here to talk about the success and growth of the company after getting on the Arawak X platform. This is Beyond the Headlines. I'm Shanique Miller. Welcome to the show. The name Belinda Wilson is synonymous with the Bahamas Union of Teachers. She's held the position of Secretary General and won the presidency numerous times, even when she was fought from within, suspended, reinstated, re-elected, and got up fighting for the teachers she continues to represent and fight for. Tonight, on the eve of the BUT elections, we hear from Wilson and get to see the woman known for her no-nonsense stance in the face of any Minister of Education and her fearless leadership. We are now going to invite and welcome Belinda Wilson here on the show. Madam President, good evening to you. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. It's good to have you here this evening in person, sitting next to me. It's really awesome.
Good evening, Shanique. It's my pleasure to be here with you this evening.
Thank you very, very much. So listen, the BUT heads to the election polls tomorrow. Teachers across the country will vote. Where do you think you stand with teachers on the eve of this election?
Well, our 3,000 members are from Grand Bahama to Inagua, and I believe that I've represented them very well. I think the majority of the teachers are pleased with my performance, my leadership, and I believe that not only Belinda Wilson, but my entire A team is going to be successful.
And so you feel as though you enjoy still the popularity, the support, the respect of teachers generally around the country?
Definitely, definitely. And in moving about to the various schools, they're just happy to see me, especially after the break with COVID.
Yeah.
And we had a lot of Zoom meetings or virtual conversations. So they're happy to see me in person for us to really touch and feel.
Yeah. I mean, when I saw you last week, I think it was after the negotiations and the new industrial agreement, which we'll talk about in a second. I'm like, whoa, Belinda's back, because look at Belinda on TV. You know, everything was virtual, that kind of thing. So you're quite right. I'm sure that they are quite happy to be like, okay, so hey, Miss Wilson, let's do such and such. So let's talk about your many accomplishments over the years and under many different administrations or ministers of education. And the fights and the benefits that you continue to push for. You have just negotiated a new contract for teachers, guys, about this speed of the TP. And so you have just negotiated a contract on behalf of teachers. Please tell us about the benefits and perhaps the working conditions that now will exist under this new agreement.
First of all, before I speak about the salaries and emoluments, I want to really speak about some other aspects of the agreement, because health and safety in the workplace is very, very important. So we were
I want to talk about that. See, you're jumping, but go right ahead. I want you to go there, because especially with and I know that she's not in your union, I imagine, a principal, but obviously mental health has to now be, and access to it has to now be a part of these agreements for teachers to have the access.
Yes, and when you speak about access, it was actually the Bahamas Union of Teachers that raised the issue, and we were successful in negotiating that the Ministry of Education would have an EAP program, which is for employees. So they're able to go and get counseling, and if the counseling is beyond the persons at education, then they have the opportunity to go to private counseling. That's very, very important. What we also looked at in our agreement is training and professional development, and not only for teachers, but for guidance counselors, for teachers' aides, for librarians. Because if we're going to stay on the cutting edge, and if we say that we're moving education forward, then we have to continue to
upgrade
educate
your skills.
ourselves.
Exactly. And that is awesome, because so then you are not just agitating and fighting the, let's say, the ministers and on that level. You're saying, while I fight for that, teachers, you all come with me, because I need you all also to show that you are worthy of what it is I'm fighting for, these new additions that I'm fighting for, and to keep up in an ever-evolving education system.
And even in our agreement, we've agreed to have curriculum revision. And with the curriculum being revised, then the union is one of those stakeholders that will be a part of the revision committee. Good. So there are a lot of terms and conditions of service I think get lost when we talk about the money, although the money is very important. But we first proposed a 20% salary increase over a 3-year period, which we then reduced to 19.40%, but we settled and accepted 15% over a 3-year period. So the members were pleased with that. I had about 8 meetings. We did it by Zoom, but that had its up to it, because we would not have normally had the entire membership from the entire Bahamas on together. So the members were step by step. They knew what we were doing, what we were negotiating for, and they were able to vote unanimously to accept. And they would say, okay, Madam President, you've done what you can do. We can sign off now. So I know that the membership is pleased, because all of our meetings we had around 700, 800, 900, 1,000, 1,200 members on at any given time. And we spent hours in discussions and dialogue to make sure that we had the best agreement for our members.
I mean, you are a tough negotiator, that much has been shown. What are teachers telling you most that they want now, that they need attention given to, and that they hope that you can also address?
Definitely they wanted the agreement to be signed off, so that's done. What I think teachers want also, though, is support, more support, mentorship, more training. They want more opportunities to get higher qualifications, because very few scholarships are given annually. So we even have in our agreement for sabbaticals, where teachers would be able to get time off with pay to write books or to do research, something pertaining to education. So I think for the most part, they're happy. We're looking internally as to how we can even expand on benefits that we give to our members internally. But I think for the most part, they're happy. The big thing on the plate was, let's get the agreement signed, and that's been done.
When people said, especially during the pandemic, and no, Belinda's just trying to be a distraction and not work with education as they try to get kids back in school in some which way, whether it's a toss between virtual and face-to-face, etc. But you are fighting to make sure that your teachers remained healthy, weren't exposed, and that for the entire institution to be able to operate properly. How do you respond to that, and what was really truly driving you to continue insisting that, hey, certain things need to be in place before I can agree and my members agree to return?
Of course, I represent teachers, teachers' aides, guidance counselors, librarians. However, whenever we raise the issue of health and safety, and we're saying we want to make sure you get the 3 to 6 feet distancing, we want to make sure the sanitizers are in the school, we want to make sure you have the janitorial staff that can clean the school, we want to make sure that the school has a sick bay. That's not only for the teachers, that's also for the children.
It is.
And remember, the children go back home, the children are in the community, so the safety net is needed for all. And so the drive was to ensure that the ministry and the Department of Education was clear as to what the protocols are and were, and that we were clear as the employees as to what is expected of them. So I say it on the wall. I stayed, I tried to continue to send out information, keep the members updated. And I believe that also helped to pull them through. And even during the pandemic, although it's not ended as yet, we lost members to COVID or because of the effects of COVID. So it was a very sobering time for me and for teachers. I could say to you though, one thing the majority of them really don't want to see is the LMS. That virtual platform education must. They have no other choice. They must get another platform that is user-friendly, and the time must be taken to train our teachers to be able to use the platform efficiently and effectively.
Yeah, because obviously you all want the same thing, success, eh? And so the teachers obviously must be very skilled and practiced in using it, and so that they can better facilitate the class sessions. So Belinda, let's look at your journey. You've been suspended from the union. You've fought
7 times.
How many times?
7.
You fought your way out of various allegations to rise again and pick up from where you left off after each suspension. What is that thing that keeps you very steady and steely and not allowing past experiences to distract you, to keep you coming back, to keep you still serving at the level of which you serve? What is that thing that after 7 suspensions, Lord, some people have been like, man, forget y'all, I gonna have to, let me go in another direction.
7 suspensions and 8 elections, so I'm still in good stead. But what keeps me going though, there's something deep down in my belly. I get a holy anger when the advantage is being taken of people. It bothers me when people are mistreated or treated unfairly. So I believe that definitely is a part of it. But I believe that God chose me for this job for such a time as this. And my mom, God rest her soul, she died November 2019. But my mom was a chief shop steward in the Bahamas Hotel Catering and Allied Workers Union for 18 consecutive years. So I could tell you it's in my belly.
It's a part of your whole makeup.
Yeah.
I tell you. You know, the dark times, and I want to stay there for just a short moment. And I'm sure those 7 times must have been, each perhaps increasingly so, very, very just like, dang, what's going on? How am I going to get out of this? Share some tips that perhaps, especially now, that people need something to hang on to hold on to be able to get out of their own dark times. You are facing an election tomorrow, and you are doing so with the biggest smile and the most energy. About how are you able to pull yourself out of those dark times and get back on that track of achieving goals?
First of all, you have to know who you are. That's the first thing. And you have to remain focused on what your purpose is and what your objectives are in the position which you hold. What is very, very, very important is family. So my husband and my daughter, they my 2 big cheerleaders. And my husband always said to me, don't worry about what happened out there. When you come home, you got peace in here. So
he's been that peace for you and creating that sanctuary, really.
Yeah, peaceful, and he's understanding, and he's a listening ear, and he supports from behind. So he's not threatened by, oh, you out front? He said, go ahead.
But people should also know that you support him. When because many times you've said, oh, no, Shanika, I can't do that interview. I have to do something with my husband. So it's reciprocal.
And I had to do something with him today. So I wasn't sure that I was coming to you this evening.
Yes,
so
yes.
I said, yes, but we did it. It's over with, and it was successful. And he's my rock.
That's good to hear. Where do you see the teachers' union headed, though? Obviously, and you mentioned it, that teachers must continue advancing and that kind of thing. Where do you see the teachers' union headed 2022 and beyond?
Well, our union, I must say, first of all, I sit here this evening with a union that is debt-free. So we paid off every debt that the Bahamas Union of Teachers owed during the pandemic in September of 2020. So the Bahamas Union of Teachers, we owe no bank, no credit union, no one. So that definitely is a plus. We are, if you pass 100 Bethel Avenue, Stapleton Gardens, we are building a multi-million-dollar complex that I hope would be completed in the next 8 to 12 weeks.
Oh.
We have started a pension plan for our members with Providence Advisors Limited. We started that July 1st last year, 2021, during the pandemic. We continue to support our members with sponsorship for training and professional development. We have relationships with universities and colleges for discounts for our members who would be doing their bachelor's or master's degrees or PhDs. We have a debt survivors benefit for our members. One thing that I hope to achieve within this next 3 years is for us to do a Bahamas Union of Teachers housing subdivision. So we have the vehicle, we've put the vehicle in place for that. We have applied for land. We have the list of members who want housing.
Teachers deserve that, eh?
Yeah, so,
I mean, because many people want that access to realize their version of the Bahamian dream. And owning a house or some sort of something that you own is a part of that.
So that would definitely be something that I'm going to focus on for the next term, which is 3 years. We've already had I had the union's book written. So we have the history book of the Bahamas Union of Teachers from 1947 to 2017. We're 75 years old. So the Bahamas Union of Teachers is very strong. I have a good cast of persons that are running with me. This will be the group that I will train to take over. And I hope that they soak up everything, the good, the bad, and the ugly. But soak up everything so that they would be knowledgeable. They will.
And I think people have credited you with being knowledgeable from Secretary General to whatever other position you've held. You've studied at each level to be able to be prepared for the next.
Yeah, I believe in professional development and training. I believe in research. And you have, if you are going to represent people and you're going to lead, then you must be knowledgeable about everything, every aspect of the work that you do. And let me tell you something else too. When I'm not sure, I have no problem telling the members, I don't know, I'll get the information, I'll get back to you. And I do that. And I would contact someone who I know who has the information or who's knowledgeable in that area. And I will prick their brain and get the information and get it back to the members. So there's nothing wrong with saying, I don't know.
Absolutely. You are a fan of the show and you've watched the Hot Topics panel go back and forth from time to time. And I think one time we had a discussion about which Minister of Education you perhaps never had an issue with. I kind of said Ivy Dumont in terms of fighting for something for the teachers. That's what we mean. Nothing personal, just pushing to get stuff accomplished. I would say Ivy Dumont.
Well, actually, when Ivy Dumont was the minister, I was a shop steward.
Ah, okay.
I was a shop steward.
Okay.
So I would not have been involved so intimately with the minister. But I don't think there's any minister that has escaped my wrath, because my fight is for the betterment, not only of the teachers and their working conditions, but the educational system.
You want to say anything to me about what I often say in recent time, about what I say? Anyways, your message to the teachers.
Well, I just want to say to all of the teachers, tomorrow is our election day. Please come out and vote. Vote for the candidates of your choice. But I say to you, the A-team, Belinda Wilson and the A-team, we are the best team. Come out and support us from Grand Bahama to Inagua. And I say, as I always do, solidarity forever.
I thank you very much, Belinda Wilson. Of course, she really doesn't do many sit-downs as much as she out there. And she's adopted the new technology now, which is messaging via WhatsApp or other things. But I thank you for this opportunity. And you know what? Good luck tomorrow as well. Yeah, absolutely. We wish you luck tomorrow as you go for your 8th time. Eighth, yeah, into participate in your eighth BUT election. Certainly, thank you very much for stopping by this evening. Stay exactly where you are. When we come back, the Hot Topics panel weighs in on the BUT elections, just very, very briefly, and also looking at the increase in what it takes to feed a prisoner daily. Yeah, absolutely, that and much more after this.
What does it mean to be Bahamian? It's so much more than just where you were born. It's using your imagination to achieve the unthinkable. It's our resourcefulness in taking what we have and making it better. It's a connection we share even when miles apart. Our culture runs as deep as our breathtaking seas. And when the heat is on, we get fired up even more. And we know that we perform best when we look out for one another. At Alive, we never stop because we're built Bahamian strong, and we wouldn't have it any other way. Alive, we are Bahamian.
Particularly in this new world, you see a lot of unionist cozying is what I like to call it. And I don't know, maybe she's cozying in a back room somewhere, but certainly whenever she comes out in a public face, people understand that this is the same Belinda Wilson that got up on the car in 2008, that will get up on the car in 2017, or 22, albeit a little slower.
Look at you, had Lord Belinda, you heard that? He trying to say you know that's frightening no more. But go ahead.
But slow or fast, you can guarantee that if something goes awry, Belinda Wilson will show up. It'll be with a fog on, and she's not going to rest until she sees the minister. not a minister of state, not a permanent secretary, the minister or the prime minister, and she accepts nothing less. I think that's something that the teachers in her union find good credit with. I thought it quite interesting that she talked about allowing teachers time off to write books. I personally know teachers that have gone all the way up to the PhD level, and they had to bear the brunt of those costs of living and accommodations on their own. And, you know, for a lot of them, it's, you know, I've come back, I'm a teacher, but on a teacher's salary alone, I won't be able to make it. I won't even be able to pay off my college debt, you know, but I have content and I'm qualified at a level that if they would pay me, I could sit home and write curriculum, I could sit home and write books, and I know teachers that have written books. But one of the things I thought I would have heard from her, and I hope she considers it, is fighting for foreign language teachers. Because I'm understanding, and I only just, you know, got wind of this, that most of them are trained to a level where, yes, they can be certified as teachers. But a lot of them do not have the level of cultural immersion that would enhance their skill to the point that they would be proficient to a level that is expert. So your Spanish teacher in a Spanish-speaking country is probably literate, right? And I think that if we can get our foreign languages, because if you look at what's happening in the world with carbon credits and all this other stuff, eventually we're going to have to do some negotiations across borders. That's going to be something that requires
even
more languages.
you're putting me on my toes, because you're right. We all need to at least have the skill of one additional language.
Yeah,
truly.
well, you know, you like I'm a millennial. I think you may even be Gen Y.
I hate him, you know, shut up, listen to me. You all stay focused on the topic.
You come from a Bahamas where if you weren't speaking English, you weren't speaking to Bahamians, right? The world is changing. And again, things like carbon credit conversations make that abundantly clear. That a lot of the things that we got away with, I don't make it a practice quoting him, but Miles Monroe once said that the old weapons that kept us will keep us no more. And so Bahamians have got to understand that in order to live in this global village, there are some tools that we're going to have to kind of go and gather for ourselves. Among those tools are foreign languages. And I hope to see the president, if re-elected or when re-elected, I hope to see her push a bit more effort in the direction of foreign language teachers, because I'm not sure they get all of the support that they ought to have.
Yeah, no, it's very important. You're right. And listen, speaking of carbon credits, and you're right, who's going to accompany the prime minister when he goes into, say, a Spanish-speaking country and he needs an interpreter, et cetera? So it's very much needed. And there was a program, there were some people I had recently on this show. They do that actually as an organization where they go and so it's a lucrative area is what I'm saying. Yeah. When you can go and have to attend a conference with world leaders or whatever it is, and once you're a part of this organization, you get that opportunity and you make a great deal of money, because you have to then translate to those presidents and world leaders and whatever the setting is, but you have to translate, and so it's something that is a growing industry. It will continue to grow, and why not be a part of that? And so you're right. But speaking of carbon credits, let's just jump in right here. Prime Minister Davis, of course, has been talking about that and their benefits to the Bahamas, as you all know. It just might work out, though in a different way than he may have initially thought. While in New York, which is of course yesterday and perhaps still today, Prime Minister Davis in a number of meetings related to climate change that the New York Times is putting on. But here's what happened yesterday, guys. The IMF managing director suggested that countries like the Bahamas can use their carbon credits, maybe not to pull in money, but to pay off debt, something that that is quite attractive to all of us, if we, especially Cassius loves to talk about the national debt and where it stands. Imagine being able to use those mounting carbon credits that the world owes, I guess, us money for, but use it to pay off debt. They in turn become money. Cassius, you jump in, because that's your you know exactly how to talk about that as you've been doing.
Well, first of all, let me explain this carbon credit, because I think many people who are watching us don't really understand how this thing called carbon credit. What is carbon credits? It was basically started by the World Bank some time back. However, carbon credits is basically what the industrial nations have agreed to put on industries. In other words, for every 1 ton of pollution you produce, you get 1 credit. So we give you 1 carbon credit for every 1 ton.
So if a ton?
So if your company is producing 5 tons and you only have 1 credit, then you're fined for the additional 4 tons of extra pollution. That fund then is therefore what these nations who, like the Bahamas, can pull from. You understand? However, what they're also saying is that if we can create industries within the Bahamas that can also pull carbon from the atmosphere and then we can have it certified by this international agency, then if we can produce our own ton of carbons, then we will get paid for that too. So you can do it as a personal project or as a company or as a country. However, right now you're looking at carbon credits. It was $2 a ton, now it's $6 a ton. They're saying that they want it to be $76 by 2025. However, that's a little shaky. The whole issue was to punish companies that are producing excessive amount of carbon in the atmosphere. However, it has been basically, it went into this money laundering and a money grab thing for a lot of major companies, and a lot of money is floating around in carbon credits now. However, where it's supposed to be going, it's not going right now, and so this is why they're trying to basically straighten it up. So, but what they're really saying is, see, the IMF, a lot of our debt is owed to the IMF. What the IMF will say is that, okay, we will now pull money from the fund, and then we'll forgive your debt. So the money that are being fined from these major companies for the excessive amount of carbon will go to the IMF, and they'll say, okay, that's 500 million, and instead of you paying the IMF will pull money from the fund. So that's the kind of system they're trying to create. You notice that in the article they say it is difficult, it is hard, but keep pressuring us. In other words, it's not really crystallized as yet, it's not concrete as yet, but they're still trying to formulate how this can work. And so, but of course, the IMF is trying to put themselves in a position where they can get their money off the top instead of waiting for it to come from countries. And so, you know, they're a smart bunch of people. So that's how the whole system of carbon credit works. Hopefully we'll figure out how it all works for us. I mean, we don't produce that much excess carbon to be able to, I guess, be a major player in the game. However, we do have issues. We can, you know, if you're getting into solar, if you're getting into planting trees, if you could quantify that, then you could sell that as carbon credits. I think though also too, we have, I guess, we have more airplanes flying in our airspace than anywhere in the world. And I suspect that what we need to do is that all the emissions that are burned off in our airspace, we need to now go heavily after our air tax, because our space is being polluted not by us, but by airplanes flying over our airspace, burning off carbon and so on. And so that's something that we have to look at. I know right now I think the first PLP administration went and renegotiated the air tax. I think we need to go back to the drawing board, because most of the air tax is being given to the United States. So the US gets most of our air tax. Every country gets their own air tax except the Bahamas. That money goes to the United States. We only get about $5 million or so, and you know, we could do $100 million easy every year for air tax. And so that is something we have to seriously look at. I think we need to go back to the negotiating table with the FAA and the United States government and say, listen, we want our money, we want our air tax, because we got bills to pay.
I think we cured that issue already. I think Mr. Diaghilev landed that plane 2019 is what I want to think. So I know that there is now some talk about us receiving a couple $100 million in air traffic tax. So that's one thing. The second thing is the carbon sinks that they're talking about aren't necessarily the ones where you agree to produce a certain amount of carbon, and if you go over it, you charge for it. I think what the Prime Minister's argument on the international market has been is we don't produce carbon, and our coral reef systems absorb the carbon out of the atmosphere. And if you consider what that amount of carbon is absorbed from the atmosphere every year, then if you're saying that 1,000 pounds of carbon and our coral reefs take care of about 350 pounds of the carbon, then we ought to be made to benefit from that absorption. What I will say to you is, I think the argument is brilliant. I have not heard a Prime Minister kind of pontificate on the world stage about something this complex in a very long time. So I don't know who's advising Mr. Davis, but it is definitely brilliant. Now, I must address the rabble-rousers, because they will say it was their idea, and they told us about the aragonite, and they told us about the carbon credits, and they told us it could pay off the national debt. I remember them saying that it could pay off the national debt and give every Bahamian $100,000. I noticed they're now saying it could give 150,000 organic Bahamians. I don't know what that is unless you grow them, where you grow them. $80,000 per organic Bahamian. Well, you Bahamian is, first of all, I don't see Arawak Indians running around out there anywhere. Is it a bad idea? I think the idea is complex, but you know my position always is, from the day the woman ate the apple, the world had problems. I'm not interested in people telling me what the problems are. I'm always interested in finding out what the solutions are. And so I don't want Mr. Davis to let the lady from the IMF go. She has a difficult last name. I can't recall it.
Yeah, that's why I said the managing director. I didn't even
Yeah,
try
the
to call
managing
her name.
director. Let me call her that by her title so that I'm appropriate. The managing director of the IMF. Grab her by her tail and don't let her go. See, what I think small island nations have become very good at is we let big countries, right?
Dictator.
No, they say titillating things at these international events. They have wonderful little sound bites. They get a brilliant headline. It's in the news cycle for 7 days, maybe even 2 weeks. And then they fly in their jets that pollute the air back to their big countries, and we don't hear from them until the next meeting a year from now. And so, again, I think the Prime Minister has his hand or his thumb on the pulse of this carbon credit thing. I will say this, and the back of my tongue will bleed when I do. Maybe it may not be a bad idea to sit down with some of the people in a formal meeting, off the record, of course, if that is even possible to pull off, and find out from them what are their thoughts with regard to this. Because whether you consider them lunatics or not, they are still contributing members of this society. And if they are the ones that had the forethought about how it ought to work, then I think, there ought to be some inclusion, at least of what their considerations were, to ensure that we're doing, as much as we can to benefit from this from as many angles as we can.
I certainly think, Levan, that's an angle to benefit from. I mean, why not address the national debt issue in that way, and still in another way, bringing in, as the Prime Minister is going about saying, listen, you have all done significant damage in this whole region. Now it's time to pay.
But Shanique, and I wish I had pom-poms to shake, right? Because, I've actually said something several times in this studio, and people continue to make it sound like it is the craziest thing ever. If stay with me for 1 second. If large monetary companies can write off debt through natural resource credit, right? Then why can't I give the government of the Bahamas all of the mangoes off of my mango tree, and they give me $100 a month off of my real property tax? The avocado season is upon us. Why can I, with 3 avocado trees in my yard, not make an agreement with the government, right, to provide them with locally grown avocados? And if enough of us do it, it will at least be enough to feed the local hotel market. And whatever the import is on those things, you get to say to the government, I will produce, or not because I don't know what my tree will produce, but you have full reign and access to all 3 of the avocado trees in my yard, right? That was bad English. All 3 of the avocado trees in my yard. And I will pin them. I will keep you posted on their development. And when they are full, you send your certified government pickers and handlers to come pick them, box them, and take them out of my yard. Every month when I go to the real property tax place, because y'all keep calling me and asking me for this money, I should see $100 missing off whatever it is that I owe you all monthly. And so I feel like literally the Prime Minister may have just found something that can actually spur the agricultural economy. I see the good Minister Clay Sweeting is signing some sort of investment deal with agricultural first-time farmers, something yesterday on the news. I smile because it's interesting to see that kind of a policy being practiced and then have the Prime Minister on the international market talking about erasing debt through natural resources. When if you just took my avocados, we wouldn't need to give people money to grow avocados, and I would still be getting money or money's worth from taxes that I've been able to have saved because of my natural resources.
Sure, they don't buy
You
up
support
there
that, Cassius?
we get 100,000 farmers around, and they can't sell no crops in the government.
How much of them
buy no
growing
crops,
pear?
so-
They all like
so-
the problem with Bahamian farmers is all y'all like do is grow onion.
No,
Every day got a
listen,
million
listen,
onion.
Listen, speaking for our farmers, we got some farmers that are doing some phenomenal things.
I agree with you.
Farmers in Eleuthera, they doing some phenomenal things.
Well, we agree.
I've been on some farms even here in New Providence, and they're growing a whole lot of crops.
We agree.
And so it's just that they need the support. Farmers need support where we have linkages to hotels. Farmers need support where they have linkages to export markets. And once we give them that support, their farms will flourish. We just need to invest more in farming. And the trouble with farming in the Bahamas is that we have, like I keep saying, we have 8% arable land because we have a lot of hard rock in the Bahamas. But we need to look at vertical farming. Vertical farming where we could grow a lot of things through hydroponics and other ways of growing where it doesn't necessarily have to be in the soil. But we could exploit that. We have, when you look at the Caribbean, the Bahamas brings in $1.3 billion worth of food products every year. Somewhere around there. It's about that number. But what I'm saying is, how do we supplement that from our local farmers? We got to find a way to supplement that by the government giving support to our local farmers. Not just onions, like you said, if that's all they grow, we could grow much more.
I'm very happy that this is you in the studio and not anybody else, because I know that you like to talk about open and free markets, right? And so I'm not saying to
Well, I like free markets.
right, and so I'm not saying to withdraw support from the farmers or not even give them more support. I'm saying to you, as somebody that's lived in a mango grove my entire life, outside of Brownie, no one eats these mangoes in my yard. And every year, I discard, Brownie is the local neighborhood pot cake.
Use an entrepreneur. I mean, Levan, you can't wait for the government to buy you. You find a way to sell your mangoes.
Yes, I'm not interested. Yes, I'm an entrepreneur in the business of property management, ground transportation, and media marketing. I am not an entrepreneur in the area of agriculture. But what I am is a property owner, right? And it would color my soul if the government would decide I owe them money for this property. Which I'm so happy this is you in the studio, because I know that you also oppose governments charging taxes for owning land. Isn't that correct? So since you're here, I feel like you're the perfect person to have this argument with. Right? And
before
while
we
I
go
got
to the
this
break,
mango on the ground,
before we go to the break, speaking of food,
why are they taxing us?
How about that? Speaking of food, before we go to the break, and bring in, because I'll tell you, I don't know if you guys can smell all that wonderful lobster gyro. Yeah, just the lobster gyro, I could smell that. I mean, it's prominent, right? But I want you guys to wait. And then speaking of food again, so inflation apparently is affecting the cost of food per day per prisoner at the rehabilitation center. Your thoughts on that? Because here it is, I think it's gone from $15 to $26 a day. Many Bahamians are saying, wait a minute though, wait. You like this what we doing?
I will hear leave on this. I can put my
there are only two ways to reduce costs.
Hold on, wait. Let me put my hand on.
There are only two ways to reduce costs. Reduce the price of food and what it costs to get it in there, or reduce the Negroes. There's no other way around it.
Put them out on bail?
Or the ones that are on death row them, or take the commissioner's advice. And if you catch them in the commission of crime, you know the commissioner said yesterday on the news, there will be shootouts. I love that. The commissioner say, this is where the hotspots are. And saturation patrols will be in the hotspots, and we want the public to know there will be shootouts. So either you stop them from going into prison and reduce the Negro population, or the ones that have been condemned by a court, you reduce that number in the prison, and some of them that actually are having their sentences commuted, I don't know how you will fix those, but there's no pretty way to do it. Either we gotta feed them all generic food, which I suspect they are doing, or reduce the Negro population.
Grow their own food.
You just said that only 8% of the place is arable land.
I'm sure they get some arable land in the prison. They could grow their own chicken. They can grow their own food. They can grow their own crops.
And they pick up a skill.
You understand? And so what happens is that.
Very useful skill.
But we have some policies that are, I remember Fred Mitchell was saying that you need to get permission from the Governor General to wake up prisoners before 5 o'clock in the morning.
What?
Something like that. Some crazy nonsense. So they also get these regulations within the prison.
The international rules.
And then also too, I think we spend X amount of money on cigarettes every year, because I remember Mother Pratt, when she was Minister of National Service, me and her went at it over spending cigarette money on prisoners. And for me, I always took the position as prepaid and postpaid. If you don't invest in your children prepaid, you can invest in them postpaid. So right now we're spending all this money in the prison, all this money to feed them, to buy them cigarette, to house them, whilst they do nothing. I say, let's make sure we have a work program for them where they could contribute to their own food. They earn their own carbon credits to eat. You understand? So you go to work, you put them in the farm, let them grow crops, let them sell that crops to the exchange. They make their extra money every week so that could go towards paying for them. We cannot carry them. We got a whole bunch of illegal immigrants to carry. Then we got a whole bunch of prisoners to carry. Then we got a whole bunch of everybody to carry. How we can carry everybody and we ain't get no carbon credit to sell, like Levan say. We don't produce no carbon, so we ain't getting nothing to sell.
Economics is basic.
And
either you reduce the cost of intake,
or we found a supplemental way of finding new streams of income.
That's my point, because the prison doesn't generate money.
And
so either you need to cut the cost,
exactly,
or reduce the population.
And then you got a lot of construction workers and masons and so on there. Source their talent out. Those who perhaps already almost on their time, source them with the construction workers. Let their pay come back to them. Part go towards the prison,
But
part go towards them.
No, see, Cassius, then you run into legal issues, right? Because is that a part of what their sentencing was? My sentencing wasn't to any sort of labor of any kind. I am in prison for the crime that I've committed. I intend to lay here like a plywood for 23 hours a day, and I don't want anybody to touch me, ask me to do anything.
You don't think a prisoner would be happy to know that
I'm
when
just saying
they
that-
leave prison, they have some money to look forward to that's been...
But Shanique, you have to consider people's legal rights. You can't say because the man is a prisoner, he has vacated himself of
But it was
all
done
legal
before,
rights.
You know,
right?
You all have the song. That's the sound of the man working on the chain.
Yeah.
Yay.
Put them to
And
work.
what was that, 1950s?
Put them in, so why did it work then? It can't work now.
Yeah, it could work now.
If we could change the law,
civil rights.
change the law. Change the law. All it takes is them
something
to-
obviously has to be done, and I'll tell you, it's awesome for them to pick up a wonderful skill that's useful in and out of prison to learn how to farm. Imagine that. Imagine that's just really awesome.
And just sauce it out. Sauce out the talent.
It's a dream, eh? Levan, I'll tell you this before I see you in red last night, on last
blue.
night's show, you had on wonderful
Royal blue.
blue
Yeah,
at that.
I got on royal blue pants too. Don't let these people get
You got
away
a
with
royal
nothing.
red. You got a royal red today.
Yeah, I've got on a royal blue pants.
Because I know it's a
But
reason.
we have a king, right? We haven't had a king in 70 years. And so I thought this week I would just, I would do a couple of the royal colors, I'm not gonna put on purple because they may mistake me for a Baptist pastor. But definitely red and royal blues. Yeah, that's something. God save the king. That's what it
Leave
is.
these Baptist pastors with their robes, yeah?
My friends at KS Moses take really good care of me, and so I'm very happy that they've permitted me to come and show my commitment to the crown.
Yes,
this week.
to the crown.
God save the king.
They forget me, but I just like to say, Shanique, as I walk the streets and as I go from place to place, people have been saying how much they enjoy our conversation, and I just like to thank each and every one of you for watching, paying attention, those who are on YouTube, those on Facebook, and share the link because we try to bring you a lively, provocative, exciting link. Levan, what's the next word?
Even entertaining.
What I do know, Cassius, is I've met a lot of people, like you're saying, that are saying, oh, they've seen some of our shows about the British monarch, and they don't know why we need to talk about the British monarch, right? But they enjoy the show, and I told them if it wasn't for the British monarch, we would probably be French or Dutch or Spanish, right? And if it weren't for any of those empires, then we would all still be speaking pygmy language. So maybe the people that enjoy this show in English should join me in a chorus and singing "God Save the King." Because
go ahead, Lee. Go to the break and say it. Let me see if you know the British national anthem.
You have
revised.
to know I know it. You have to know I know it.
Go ahead, Levan.
God save the gracious King, long
Levan,
live the
go,
gracious
because I don't
King.
know it. No,
God
sing.
save the King.
Sing
Send
it.
him victorious, happy and glorious, long to reign over us. God save the King. Oh, come on. This is Levan Miller we're talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Royalist like the other Miller here on the show.
Yes. The Constitution of Bahamas.
Listen, Cassius, let's stay focused.
Whereas some
people are gathered in this Commonwealth.
And whereas.
But listen, I thank you both very much. They forgot to say, educational, informative, opinionated. Yes. They forgot to say entertaining.
Entertaining.
Yeah, I hear Levan there.
And we look good too. Ain't nobody else on TV look good as us.
Fine, eh?
I just want them to know. You don't have to go watch them other people live your life. They ain't look this good. That's all I have to say.
Tell them share the link, share the link.
Yeah.
Share it.
Share the link and also have your say in the comment section. We certainly appreciate you for tuning in, streaming, watching, wherever, because there are several areas that you can watch, but we love when you stream and give your opinion as well. Even if you won't come for us, you know what I mean? Just have your say and share the link, by the way. Listen, when we come back, we're going to be talking food. We're going to be talking empowerment. You know how we were talking earlier about what we can do and empowering even those who are behind bars. Well, you who are free have an amazing opportunity that continues to go on. In fact, it's expanded when it comes to Tropical Gyros, and that's because Tropical Gyros is expanding, and you can be a part owner, certainly an investor of this opportunity. Stay close. Chef Culmer joins me right after this break.
You can't press pause on life.
Is there?
It's a lemon chicken and a jerk chicken.
Lemon chicken and a jerk chicken gyro, and then
That's
a jerk chicken salad. Really awesome. All good, all tasty, all healthy, all super, and growing as well. Of course, that voice you heard is Chef Kevin Culmer. He is CEO of Tropical Gyros. But you all know what's even bigger than all of that. The fact that many Bahamians can now say that they have invested in Tropical Gyros. They have helped raise nearly $200,000. And because of that, guess what's going on? Tropical Gyros is expanding, and I think there's an open window for more people to expand. And you know what I love? By the way, welcome to,
No problem,
I'm just
you.
excited to talk about this. Welcome to Beyond the Headlines. What I like is this is obviously a platform that Arawak X has created, but it is so super because many Bahamians are now realizing it is not a hoax. It is not some pie in the sky dream. That they have been getting returns on their investment, and now that you're expanding, that opportunity is even widening.
Yes, indeed it is. Good evening, and thank you for having us on the show tonight. It really is a blessing, you know, and I've been humbled by the response that we've gotten. Yes, we've raised $189,000, even though it says we've raised a lot more on the website. That's what people have pledged, and so we've extended to give them the opportunity to bring their pledges to fruition, to follow through with it, right?
Okay.
But nonetheless, we are forging ahead. You know, we've secured our second location on the RFK Plaza. I think they call it the R&D Plaza. Everyone knows it as JFK.
That's JFK.
Yes, and so we're looking to get that open for December 1st, and then we're also going to have a production distribution center in that same plaza as well. So we're doing what we said we were going to do.
What is a
production and distribution
center
is integral to the success of the growth of Tropical Gyros, in that all of the sauces, seasonings, and dressings that make us unique will be done there. And so when it goes to each location, when the meats and the seasonings and everything go to each location, you have a consistent taste. So no matter which Tropical Gyros you go to, it'll taste the same.
It's the same. And
right?
see, that's important too, because if you go to this new location that's going to open up shortly, you don't need to be like, wait a minute, this tastes a little different.
No, we don't want that. We want you to, no matter where you go in the Bahamas, because, you know, our plan is to expand throughout the Family Islands. Wherever you go to a Tropical Gyros in the Bahamas, you will taste the same.
So you're saying when I invest right now, that when you, because you also want to go international or regional as well.
Oh yeah, we're going international.
You are saying that I benefit from all that?
All of it. See, Tropical Gyros right now is on the ground floor, okay? You know, I have worked for the past 7 years. In the past 5 years at Rosetta Street, building the brand, building brand recognition. We've increased sales from 400,000+ in 2017 to almost $1 million this year in sales.
Oh, I know it very well. I love your salads, especially. They're so good.
So we're growing, and so we feel that we have we're forging a place in the food market here locally, and we also feel very strongly that we can move this forward internationally within 3 years. Okay, and any investor who buys shares in Tropical Gyros now will be a part of that success, a part of that growth. We'll be able to earn dividends from the profits that we make over the next however many years we stay in existence.
Yes,
so,
exactly.
So, you know, I say to people, you know, people call me all the time, well, how do I get back money after I've invested? And we say to everybody, listen, once you invest, you will get shares, and after every quarter until start 6 months after we open our second location. So we're looking at next September, probably be the first dividend payment, okay? And what happens, because that'll be the end of the third quarter, all right? And what happens is that we will take 50% of all of our profits and divide it amongst our shareholders. So whatever shareholders are out there, the amount of shares, I think right now we've sold about 29,000, roughly somewhere around there in shares. And so based on the amount of shares that we have out in the market, will be then the accountants will determine what the dividend payment is per share. Just like when you see when Kalina Holdings and other companies put out their stuff in the papers, we'll be doing the same thing as well.
Okay.
And so the more shares that you own, the more dividends you make.
Right.
And for those persons that like Tropical Gyros, if you have shares in Tropical Gyros, every time you eat from Tropical Gyros, you're putting money back in your pocket.
So why not support your own business?
There you go. And so you know, we are really excited about the direction that the company is going in. We are happy for the platform. You know, we know that this is a new space that Arawak X has brought to the country, and you know, they are trying to, you know, reach out to the Bahamian public to try to educate them more on what, you know, investment is all about, having passive streams of income. In order to acquire wealth, it's important you look for, other than your 9-to-5 job, look at other ways that you can have your money
totally
working for you. So
yes.
passive income is where your money's working for you. So you go and you take that $100 and you buy, 10 shares in Tropical Gyros. You let that sit, and over the next 5-10 years, that money is just turning over because you're getting dividend payments. Now, if you put that same $100 in the bank, in 6 months, you might have a negative balance.
No
way. I share the story.
Yeah, it gives you nothing.
My wife, we put $100 on the account. Within 6 months, she had no money because the fees, whatever it was, it just went. It evaporated. But when you put your money in a company like Tropical Gyros, your money stays there, and you get dividends every quarter.
Yes.
So
and that goes on and on and on.
And on for perpetuities, for as long as Tropical Gyros is in existence. And I put together a nice cross-section of business-minded people to be my board of directors, to guide the company, so that I stick in the operational component. I come to the board and we make moves. I have a financial advisor, Jonathan Mitchell from Symphony Financial, that is working diligently to make sure that the money that has been put forth to Tropical Gyros from our investors, we put it to proper use and make sure it's managed effectively and efficiently. So, I just wanted to let the public know that, look, hey, we are doing everything we can to ensure the success of the growth of Tropical Gyros.
And to ensure their success.
And our success is their success.
Exactly, return on investment.
Yes, without a doubt. The ROI, as they say in the finance world, is going to look good. So we anticipate next year, our projection next year is to do $2 million in sales with the 2 locations.
Wow.
And at a 20% gross profit margin, we're looking at about $400,000. So we're going to be taking $200,000 and divide it amongst our shareholders. And so we've raised, $189 so far. So we're looking to put back almost $200,000 right away in the first year, right back into the hands of our investors.
Yes,
so
yes.
when you hear those numbers and you think about that, and you've made a pledge to come on to purchase shares in Tropical Gyros, my suggestion is, you know what? You have now until October 7th now, because we've extended it by 30 days.
I see that you've extended it, yeah.
To give people an opportunity to pay. You can now go to Cash and Go and pay for the shares through RWACX.
Okay.
So and you can go to the I think the RWACX head office in Sandy Port. So there's opportunities because they are coming online with other companies.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I think,
in fact, I think they did a launch earlier today.
Right?
Yeah.
Right. That they should come on in the media tomorrow. And so if food is your thing, hey, come on board and Tropical Gyros.
The thing is, food is everyone's thing, and
Isn't it amazing?
I tell you, I try to push also empowerment. Not just the headlines that cause many people to be like, oh my God, it's just too much. No, let me just sort of balance that with empowering people and sharing information. This is the kind of information I love sharing. The fact that you can take advantage of something like this. People are worried about income and maybe no increases at this moment. Well, guess what? Create your own way, make your own way through investment. Even, of course, the new launch and the new offering that was launched earlier today, you will be hearing more about that. But this is amazing because what's encouraging about Tropical Gyros is already there's growth. So the second location is now in motion. Work is now being done to be able to get that open successfully. And, of course, you heard it's going to be a distribution center. And what else was the other word you used? Production distribution center, because that's where those wonderful sauces you love, that's where they are going to be made organically and certainly following one recipe. And so this is really awesome. And so it's easier technology to get people in. As you say, you can go to Cash and Go. You can also go to our RWACX. Of course, visit their Facebook pages, etc. But you can go there and be able to make good on your pledge. Or if you even haven't pledged and you've been thinking about it, you can now go and take advantage of the opportunity. Give us a quick rundown of the menu.
Well, we have the jerk chicken gyro, the jerk pork gyro, the 3 cheeseburger gyro, the grilled veggie gyro. We have a coconut curried lamb. We've been having difficulty sourcing it, but I've been assured by my supplier that that's going to be corrected very shortly. We have the cracked lobster gyro. We have the cracked conch gyro. We have a grilled shrimp gyro. We have a barbecue salmon gyro. And we have the rice bowls, where you can get any of the proteins that we have with our tropical peas and rice salad and plantain, and of course, any of the meats on top of our salads.
And you have you have many salads as well.
Yes,
that are very good.
All the salads, salads are our number 2 seller, and people are losing weight eating our chicken salad.
Yes, absolutely.
So I think it's
absolutely.
for those
and
of you
the
who are healthy.
romaine lettuce and really, really nice. Chef Kevin Colmer, thank you, and thank you for bringing this opportunity again.
No problem.
You know what I mean? And talking about it and being open and honest about it. And so, guys, you heard it. He hid nothing. He told us everything. Go and be empowered. Make a decision that's good and best for you. Right?
Thank you.
Yes, absolutely. Okay, so I see them telling me that I must go to the Minute of Inspiration with Mount Tabor Church. So listen, here is more inspiration on top of what I just shared with you a minute ago in this segment. Here's your Minute of Inspiration with Mount Tabor Church.
So I have looked for you in the sanctuary.
Where I look for you?
In the sanctuary.
For what?
To see your power and your glory.
You don't come to the sanctuary, watch this, to see one another. Say amen to that. You come to see his power, his glory. So you don't leave the sanctuary because somebody upset you. You didn't come to see them in the first place. So if I didn't come here to see you, how am I going to let what I see of you drive me out of the sanctuary of God? I did not come to see you. When I come, I have looked for you, God, in the sanctuary to see your power and your glory. Some of y'all ain't torn in yet. That's what you come to church for.
Sing and rejoice, O daughter of Zion. For behold, I am coming, and I will dwell in your midst.
God is not a man that he should lie. If God says, I'm coming, guess what he's doing? He's coming. He says, I want Mount Taborites and those who follow us to change their perspective. Don't act like regular church people who need to say something or hold something for a celebration. You got to know how to celebrate the fact that God said it. That's just like he's been telling some of you some time ago what he's going to do in your life. But because you've not seen it yet, you're stepping away from it. You stop talking about it. You stop receiving it. You stop behaving like he's going to do it. Well, get back on track and give God a mighty praise for what you've not even seen yet.
Well, that does it for our show this evening. Thank you so much for joining us. We look forward to seeing you right back here tomorrow evening. For the entire Beyond the Headlines team, I'm Shanique Miller. Make it a great evening, everyone.
The Verizon Media Group, home of ILTV.